Even the best directors can have a misfire, especially when bad screenwriting is involved. I'm John Rant with the retro review of What Lies Beneath from director Robert Zemeckis, the man that brought us Romancing the Stone, the Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Wilson! I think yelling at a volleyball probably would have been better writing than what we got in this. Beowulf, which was another misfire. In fact, to be perfectly honest, Robert Zemeckis has kind of been on a bit of a downward trend since Forrest Gump, even though he still has the magic to create some great moments. I mean, let's be honest, Beowulf was really fucking bad, Jesus fucking Christ, but he did come back with Flight, and then he also did The Witches, which was another misfire. So, if you have not seen What Lies Beneath, well, it was written by two people. I mean, one person did the screenplay, two people did the story. Story in the largest fucking quotations that my fingers will allow. Clark Gregg with 2 G's for maximum douchiness, I assume. He did Choke and Trust Me. Those are also words that I happen to say, in relationships, but I can't talk about those until the cases are settled. Probably shouldn't have mentioned that given some of the subject matter of this. And also, Sarah Kernochan, who did 9.5 Weeks in Summersby. 2 movies that weren't all that great, but boy, Jesus, they were certainly better than this. Harrison Ford, Michelle Pfeiffer, Miranda Otto, who I would have then and still would now. Various other good actors, people that were on the way up. Nothing can stop them. They're all the way up. And Robert Zemeckis, the man that brought all those goddamn movies to life. Great movies that I mentioned. And also Beowulf. And this is his attempt to basically bring Hitchcock's ideas into the modern age. This is like if Hitchcock was directed by a sea fucking cucumber. Not even a sea cucumber, a sea fucking cucumber. You have movies like Strangers on a Train, a terrific Hitchcock movie. You have Rebecca. Wait, that's Jessica. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. Nevertheless, Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. And also, you have fucking Spellbound. Ingrid Bergman and Gregory Peck. But then you have other stuff, like where this movie basically takes large chunks off of Hitchcock's corpse. I mean, if it took off any more chunks, he might as well just devour the whole goddamn thing whole. And Robert Zemeckis at least tries to build some suspense, even though it's very obvious where this fucking movie's going from the very beginning. If you can't figure out the goddamn twist, there is only one twist. It telegraphs everything. If it telegraphed it anymore, we'd be doing Morse code. I assume that's what the brain pattern sounded like from the screenwriters, but it really takes inspiration from Rear Window, that is. And it also takes inspiration from, well, Vertigo and, well, just about every other Hitchcock movie. It takes all its fucking cards and it puts them on the table. And just says, I fold, even though I had every goddamn advantage, and I'm still going to make a movie that is 129 minutes when it barely had enough fucking material for 80. Yeah, I hate this movie, just in case you can't tell, and I will explain why I hate this movie. 1, it wastes a great cast, a really great cast. I've never been the biggest Michelle Pfeiffer fan, but when she is at the peak of her powers, she's fucking terrific. Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a villain. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, by the way, Harrison Ford's a fucking villain in this. Sorry, it's been out for 22 years. That's your spoiler right there. But from DreamWorks and 20th Century Fox, Robert Zemeckis clearly tried. Oh, my God, did he try. But these writers deserve to be locked in institution. How do I say this and still stay on YouTube without getting banned? These writers deserve to be boiled alive. Maybe that's a bit too harsh, but it's like they looked at Hitchcock ideas and said, we could take that, we shouldn't understand any of the subtlety, and we obviously have a great director here, but let's just rip off every little idea from Hitchcock movies. Literally every little idea. There's so much Hitchcock nostalgia, easy for me to say, that it's honestly disgusting. You're almost ready to have a goddamn sugar coma from all the sweetness. It doesn't even make sense because none of Hitchcock's movies are sweet, but it's almost overload. It's almost like you're going to get overload on fucking carbs, which kind of explains Hitchcock. Moving on. So somewhere in Vermont, there is the Spencer family. There's Norman. Norman, I told you to stop killing your mistresses, Norman. And Claire, who, Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Their husband and wife. They have their daughter, Caitlin, who is in the movie for a little bit. She goes off to college. And then they are going to have a happy home life. They're at this lake house home that they've had before, and there's been some strife in the marriage. There's been some struggles. Turns out that Michelle Pfeiffer's character wrecked a car because, hold on, lady driver coming through, putting more cards on the fucking table. I fold. And continuing on this trek through Hitchcock cliches and all this shit. The 2000s computer technology. Remember, anybody that remembers when, like, internet was dial-up? Remember when we thought that was going to be the best goddamn thing, even with the sound? Remember that shit? Boy, that was something. Miranda Otto, at one point, there's Miranda Otto, her character, Mary, it's F-E-U-R, but they kind of say it like Fuhrer. Oh no, they're angering the Fuhrer. Couldn't unhear it. Couldn't fucking unhear it. Her and her husband, Warren, they are having arguments seemingly, but then at one point, even though it's implied, and I assume it's ADR or somebody else that was doing it, they implied that Miranda Otto was getting nailed loudly. I still would, and you still would too. And then suddenly, Claire starts seeing weird shit. The doors start opening. In fact, I'd say the first half of this movie was predominantly 50% doors opening on their own. Basically because maybe they thought the actors were too fucking stupid to open it on their own. God damn it. Oh, God. Okay. Let's be nice. One, always listen to the dog in these movies. She goes to fetch the dog's favorite tennis ball, and then there's a body in the lake that she sees that maybe a ghost, may not be. Huh, how come I never noticed that body in the lake before? And we get it. It's a ghost story. Move on. Except it's more than a ghost story. It's like more than a woman, more than a woman. It's like that Aaliyah song. In fact, actually, given that the body's underwater in this movie, it kind of makes sense. That was mean. More cards on the table as we talk about, well, she talks to her friend Jody, and she finds out more about the husband. The husband that, possibly killed his wife again. Rear Window, more cards on the fucking table. Let's just continue to put more cards on the fucking table. Maybe we'll get a royal flush at some point. Maybe we'll get a good hand. Maybe we'll get a good hand to slap this movie across the face so it'll actually speed the fuck up. So, she gets a Ouija board to contact Miranda Otto, even though Miranda Otto's not dead, because she can't get a hold of her because her husband's like, no, she's not here. And I wasn't hiding her body in a guy. That's the one thing, though. He took something, wrapped it in a tarp, and was putting it in his trunk. The hell was he doing that for, unless it was like, oh, I don't know, a dead animal or something. What the hell was going on there? That's just a loose end, one of the many loose ends that this movie refuses to tie up because it's written by idiots. She's trying to contact the Fuhrer. And the dog interrupts because the dog is the best fucking actor and the most fleshed out character in this movie. Ironic for a movie that had dead bodies in it. And she's yelling at one point, what do you want? And this message comes across from the I know what you did last summer killer. You know. No, I don't know. I still don't know. No, I'll always know. Yeah, they did 3 of those. I retro-viewed those. Check that out after you watch this. So, Claire is debating. She's talking to Joe Morton, by the way, who was Dyson in the Terminator 2 movie. Getting Dyson might actually prevent a war, and we might get better vacuum cleaners. So basically what ends up happening is she talks to this therapist. She determines that it's all in her head. She had this accident, and part of the reason she had the accident, because she found out that her husband was having an affair, but she had memory issues because she was going 80 miles an hour and wrapped her car around the tree. Not unlike son, you both know, watch out for that tree. Then she pretends to be this woman, Madison, who, by the way, was in, I believe, it was the second Transporter movie. Beautiful actress, by the way, beautiful. She, Claire talks to her mother and finds out about her and everything, and then sees these pictures and takes a lock of her hair and tries to do the seance, and then talks to Harrison Ford and pretends to be Madison. I think she started to suspect something. Who? Your wife. So Michelle Pfeiffer fans will absolutely love the role playing she did. And then she remembers, wait, I remember all this stuff that happened. I mean, I conveniently remember, even though I blocked it out of my goddamn memory, or just lazy screenwriting. And, geez, he has to basically say, I slipped. A young woman found me attractive. I slipped. Huh. Red flags, more cards on the fucking table. Here's more cards on the fucking table. I got that. That's from a deck when I went to Disneyland, and that's what my that's what my little treat was. You know, or my little gift from Alaskan Airlines. Back when Alaskan Airlines actually had something. That deck is 30 fucking years old. And I felt like I aged 30 years rewatching this. So her friend Jody talks to her and says, well, there was a bit of a problem. This is the woman that she did the seance with a little bit earlier. She saw Norman, I told you to not be seen with your mistresses, Norman, in the cafe, and they were arguing a bit, and she said she was going to approach him, and then the way they were arguing made her stop. And then what she decided to do was, after the accident, she went to the hospital and said, oh no, Claire found out. That's why she's in the hospital. She wrecked her car. She was pissed. And Norman was upset at the loss of losing her, so she couldn't say anything, because that would be bringing the movie to a conclusion well before it dragged itself like a fucking goddamn dilapidated, I don't know, human means something, dragging itself across, maybe like a sloth. A sleuth. Actually, sloths move faster than this movie, across the goddamn road. So he slipped, and he admits to the affair, but he doesn't admit to everything. And this weird ghostly stuff is still happening. It turns out that she used to play the cello, but she gave that up because she was a pregnant, single artist, and he's a fancy doctor who is developing this interesting compound that freezes the body for 5 minutes so you can study things. Huh, I wonder how that's going to factor in. Why don't you just throw up every red flag like you're in a fucking soccer/football game? Again, more fucking cards on the table. Let's just do that. Let's get queen. Wow, 3 queens and an 8. Jeez, that would be a really great hand in some card game, I assume. So suddenly she's gone. Except the ghost isn't gone, because she's not gone. She's not gone. You're not going to miss her when she's gone. So eventually, it comes to pass that Claire basically tells Norman, we have to do something about this, because it turns out you haven't been totally honest with me. How does she know this? She goes to this weird knick-knack shop. She finds a weird key and all these necklaces, like the necklace that Madison was wearing in the thing, but that's okay. He admitted to the affair. Oh, wait, no. This small key for this lockbox she found when she was at the bottom of the goddamn lake. And she saw the box and got the key, unlocked it. Well, she got out of the lake and then unlocked it. And it turned out, oh my God, it's Madison stuff. And he says, I had to do what I had to do because she had killed herself. She had done this, and she had left a letter and confessed all this stuff and confessed the affair and everything. What would have happened if the cops had found this body? They would have ruined us. It would have been bad. So I took her car and drove it into the lake. That's sensible. Do the Norman Bates stuff. Considering his name is Norman, more on-the-nose shit like we have our nose in a pile of cocaine like we're Herb Abrams or Tony Khan. Non-wrestling fans have no idea who I'm talking about. She then says, call the cops. And then it turns out he didn't call the cops. And tries to kill her and drugs her with that compound that freezes her for a number of minutes. And puts her in the bathtub. Also, he tried to fake being electrocuted earlier in the bathtub, and he almost froze to death because he was pretending to be hurt, like he slipped, or the ghost did it, or something, or lazy screenwriting. And then the bathtub is filling. Then the ghost shows up after he tries to get the necklace off, scares him, he hits his head on the sink, he's got that sinking feeling. And then he drags himself away while she manages to eventually get the plug out of there when her feet start to move. And the tub drains super, super fast, supersonic. And then she is able to get down the steps with a piece of broken mirror, and he's passed out on the floor. She tries to get the phone because it's on dial tone because he never took it off of that. And then he wakes up and he's like, no. And then she drives the old truck away. It looks like an old truck my dad used to have, like a 66 Chevy. And what ends up happening is the boat's behind them. So he hides in there. He tries to bash through the window. This is where it gets just comical. This is like if Deep Water was actually directed by a good director, because it's about the same goddamn thing. He tries to get through to her. And then the car crashes. No, Michelle, you're supposed to put the boat in the water, not the truck, then the boat, whatever. Lady driver coming through. And then they end up almost at the bottom of the lake, and suddenly they see the wrecked car. Convenient, they managed to crash in that exact same spot. And then some shaft goes through. What you talking about? Talking about Shaft. Yeah, we can't dig it. We can't dig this or the Shaft remake. I don't know why they did that. Nevertheless, what ends up happening is Madison's ghost comes alive, drags Norman down, and then that's it. And what happened to the daughter? I don't know what happened to the goddamn daughter. They just took every card and they said, we're going to take all our cards and we're going to put it on the goddamn table. Fuck this movie. Fuck the writers for doing it. Fuck anybody that thought, no, that's not true. If you thought this movie is good, that's fine. I just encourage you, check out Hitchcock movies. Check out Hitchcock's worst movie. It is better than this. Again, the best directors can have a goddamn misfire, but fuck. 129 minutes and there's barely enough material for 80. Slow panning shots and doors opening and people talking like they were on massive amounts of fucking Quaaludes. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.